A successful urea deep placement program depends on many factors, one of which is consistently providing farmers with high-quality urea briquettes. High quality refers to UDP briquettes that contain the correct nutrient content in each particle. Urea briquette should contain 46% nitrogen. Each briquette particle in the fertilizer bag should be the same weight, either 1.8 or 2.7 grams. All particles should be consistently uniform in shape with no broken or shattered briquettes. Briquettes should be dry and free-flowing. Poor quality briquettes will impact field performance of UDP and are unacceptable to farmers. These include briquettes that are not uniform in shape, such as broken and/or webbed briquettes, or those that come in contact with moisture. These can become soft to the touch or can bond or cake with other briquettes. There is no global supply system for urea briquettes. In order to ensure that farmers have timely access to high-quality urea briquettes, a supply system will need to be developed locally to coincide with and stimulate demand at the farmer level. The raw material for urea briquettes is commercially available urea granules or prilled urea. A briquetting machine presses the granules or prills into briquettes. IFDC's design for the initial briquetting machine prototype has been modified over the past decade. Today, an estimated 2,000 fertilizer briquetting machines are in operation in more than 20 countries. The machines are standalone production units. They are gear-driven and powered by either a diesel or electric motor. Each machine has a production capacity of up to 450 kilograms of urea briquettes per hour. The briquetting machines are constructed of high-grade steel and component parts. With proper care and maintenance, a briquetting machine has an estimated life of 5 to 8 years of operation. Currently, the only known sources of briquetting machines are suppliers in Bangladesh, where the FOB cost of a machine is about US $2,500 to $5,000 per unit. Local fabrication of briquetting machines is possible and encouraged. Briquetting machines are designed to produce urea briquettes using prilled or granular urea as raw material. The basic design includes two pre-pressing rolls, referred to as feeding rolls, to feed the urea prills or granules into two briquetting rolls. The pocketed briquetting rolls form the briquettes. Prior to operation, the machine should be fitted with the correct size briquetting rolls. The briquetting rolls can have 2 rows or 3 rows of pockets depending on the briquette size and weight. The briquetting rolls used to produce 1.8 gram briquettes have 3 rows of 44 pockets in each row for a total of 132 pockets. These rolls are 245 millimeters in diameter by 42 millimeters wide. The briquetting rolls used to produce 2.7 gram briquettes have 2 rows of 40 pockets per row for a total of 80 pockets. These rolls are 245 millimeters in diameter by 53 millimeters wide. With proper adjustment, the pockets on both briquetting rolls are aligned to produce briquettes. The shallow, half-semi-spherical pockets produce oblate, semi-flattened spheres. The material is fed into the briquetting rolls by means of 2 small corrugated rolls located above the briquetting rolls inside on the bottom of the feeding hopper. A plate located above and between the feeding rolls serves as a seal to prevent overfeeding and also to prevent material from being forced up into the feed hopper. All rolls, briquetting and feeding, are driven by gears. The belt-driven briquetting machines are operated by an electric or diesel motor. The motor is connected to a gearbox that acts as a speed reducer. From the gearbox, a shaft drives one briquetting roll, called the driving roll. The other briquetting roll, the driven roll, is run by the driven roll gear. Each feeding roll is gear driven by its corresponding briquetting roll. A feed hopper is located above the briquetting rolls. The hopper is supported by the cheek plates, which in turn support the feeding roll shafts. The briquetting machine is equipped with a truncated cone-shaped trommel screen driven by a pulley located underneath the briquetting rolls and receives the briquettes discharged from the briquetting rolls. The rotating action of the trommel screen should separate the briquettes that are joined together and break most of the remaining webbing on the briquettes. The briquettes discharge from inside the trommel screen. The webbing pieces and urea fines fall through the trommel screen. The typical diesel engine used to drive the briquetting machine is a single-cylinder, 4-stroke, horizontal type, 16 horsepower, 2200 RPM. The typical electric motor used to drive the briquetting machine is 440 volts, 10 or 14 horsepower. Briquetting machines should be installed in a location that farmers can easily access. The site should be on high ground and protected from rainfall or flooding. The location should be secure against theft or tampering with the machine. Ventilation should be good, particularly in the case of a fuel-powered motor. The briquetting machine should be set on concrete, steel, or any solid flat surface constructed to support an operating weight of about 350 kilograms without deflecting or vibrating. There should be sufficient space for machine and laborers to operate, a minimum of 4 square meters. Workers should follow safety guidelines at all times when the briquetting machine is in operation. Never touch any rotating parts, such as briquetting rolls, feeder rolls, gear, pulley, etc., while the machine is in operation. Do not attempt to clean the briquetting rolls with a screwdriver or any type of metal object while the machine is in operation. This action could result in severe damage to the machine and serious injury to the operator. Do not remove the screen of the feed hopper. This screen is to protect the machine from damage caused by foreign objects, but more importantly, it ensures that no one places their hand inside the feeding rolls area. Ensure that the machine area is dry and that the engine is never in contact with water. The machine operator should wear appropriate clothing and closed-toe shoes. Briquetting machines can be operated by one person, but 2 or 3 workers should be available to optimize safety and efficiency. Before engaging power supply or before cranking the engine, check the following. Make sure that there is no foreign material inside the feed hopper. Manually rotate the briquetting machine to see if the machine turns freely with no obstruction anywhere in its moving parts. Install the scalping screen on top of the feed hopper for safety and to keep lumps and foreign material out of the hopper. Ensure that the feed hopper, rolls, and the discharge trommel screen and chute are dry and free from moisture. Check the oil level in the gear reducer. The gear reducer should be filled with oil to the level indicated by the vendor. Check the gap between the rolls using a large feeler gauge and make sure that the rolls are aligned. If a feeler gauge is unavailable, use a large piece of paper. If the gap is not correct or if the rolls are misaligned, loosen the mounting bolts and the retaining bolt and adjust as necessary. After adjusting the gap, make sure to properly tighten all bolts. If the bolts become loose, the gap will increase while the briquetting machine is in operation, resulting in a weak product. With proper adjustment, the rolls will produce briquettes with minimal webbing. With the feed hopper empty, start and immediately stop the briquetting machine to check direction of rotation of the rolls and to listen for any abnormal noise. The briquetting machine rolls should turn toward the discharge chute. If the rolls rotate toward the feed hopper, disconnect the electric power if using an electric machine and change the polarity of the electric motor to obtain the proper direction of rotation. Once the rotation has been checked, start the machine and leave it running with no material for no more than a minute. Place a tarpaulin beneath and extending 1 meter beyond the end and side of the briquette discharge trommel screen. The tarpaulin should be about 2 square meters. Place collection containers on top of the tarp. One container will be placed below the point where the discharge trommel screen extends from the briquetting machine for collecting broken briquettes and fines, and the other container should be placed at the end of the discharge trommel screen for receiving the briquettes. After the previous steps have been taken, engage the machine in the on operating status and immediately fill the feed hopper with prilled or granular urea. The urea must be dry, free-flowing, without lumps and caked particles. Collect broken briquettes and fines and return them to the hopper for reprocessing. Make sure that the hopper remains filled to at least 80% of its capacity, about 40 kilograms of urea, while operating the machine. This requires a continuous feed of the urea raw material. Collect the briquettes at the trommel screen discharge point and place in secure airtight bags. Seal bag once desired bag weight is achieved. To shut down the briquetting machine, stop feeding material into the feed hopper and let it run empty. When the feed hopper is almost empty, separate the last briquettes made from the rest of the briquettes. This is done because when the feed hopper is almost empty, the briquettes produced are weak and often have a broken edge. When the feed hopper is completely empty, keep the briquetting machine in operation to allow the trommel screen to empty. Then disengage power to place the machine in the off status. For an electric machine, unplug from the power source. Once the briquetting machine is off, empty by hand the trommel screen of any briquettes left inside. Proceed to clean the briquetting machine. Most of the machine can be washed with water. This can be done with the machine running or off. However, never add water or clean the machine while briquettes are being made. Avoid getting water on the electric motor or on the hot engine. After washing with water, it is recommended to dry the machine as thoroughly as possible. Drying can be done with compressed air if available, or with a clean piece of cloth. If drying parts with a cloth, be sure that the machine is off. If the briquetting machine is not going to be used for a long period of time, it is recommended to put grease on the rolls to mitigate corrosion. Briquetting machine durability depends on proper maintenance. Major maintenance can be minimal as long as the machine is kept clean and stored in a dry, protected area when not in use. It should also be well lubricated when in operation, and not abused by briquetting materials other than those for which it was designed. Before briquette production, check to see whether there is any problem continuing from the previous operation and check machine settings, belt, level of engine, position of the hopper, radiator water, etc. Briquette quality and quantity and machine durability and safety depend on the cleanliness of the machine area. Therefore, keep the area neat and clean. Frequently grease all parts of the briquetting machine, such as briquetting rolls, feed rolls, spur gear, etc. During production, make sure that briquettes are the proper size and shape. Otherwise, adjust the briquetting rolls. Make sure there are no unusual sounds in the engine and no excess heat in the gearbox. After every 4 hours of continuous operation, the briquetting machine should be shut down and not operated for at least 1 hour. After production and washing, refill the spur gear with new grease after removing the old grease every 7 days. Put grease in the bearing case with the help of a grease gun after producing every 50 tons of briquettes. Change the old gear oil and put in the new gear oil, SAE 90 or 120, after producing 50 tons of briquettes. After 20 to 30 minutes, completely flush out the cooling water of the diesel engine and refill it with clean and soft water that does not contain iron. When the briquetting machine is expected to be out of operation for a long period of time, lubricate all its moving parts and cover the rolls and shafts with a metal protecting compound or with a thin layer of grease. This will help to avoid corrosion. Corrosion can cause briquettes to not release easily and to break in half. It is very important to have the internal surface of the indentations as smooth as possible. For long-term storage, such as between seasons, drain fuel for a gasoline-powered engine and clear the fuel line, and as a final step, cover the entire briquetting machine with a tarpaulin. For trouble information on briquette production, refer to Table 3.1 in the UDP reference manual. Urea is hygroscopic, and briquette manufacturer must minimize moisture exposure of the raw material urea and urea briquettes. High-quality bags are essential for packaging UDP briquettes. The bags protect against moisture and contamination from other materials and ensure the correct weight of the briquettes. Most dealers will not have access to custom-made bags and should reuse the standard grade urea bag for briquettes. This includes both the plastic inner liner and the outer polypropylene bag. Bag weight, typically 50 kilograms, should be validated by the use of scales. Since dealers may not have scales in their shop, this can be improvised by making a balance with a 50 kilogram bag of prilled urea as a counterbalance. Both the inner plastic liner and the outer bag should be closed using a tie or plastic clip. The inner liner should be folded and tucked so it remains closed. The outer bag provides additional protection from handling and transport. UDP briquettes should be stored in a secure, dry building. If you have any questions about urea briquette manufacture, please contact IFDC at 256-381-6600